Hi everyone. So I was guided to do a self-healing today, and as part of my process, before I do any sort of healing, I try and understand what exactly it is that I'm being called to facilitate for myself as a co-creative act between me and spirit. And the way I do that, the way I get that information is I sometimes pull cards, sometimes I draw, I do an astrological horary chart. Today I drew some tarot cards, and I thought perhaps it would be just that there was nothing else apart from the extraction of the information. I would then be able to carry on with my healing. The healing's been done, but what I then received was that I had to share this information with you all. And I'm trusting that that whoever needs to hear this will find this message at some point, and that it will bring them a sense of clarity. And that is my intention anyway, that it will bring them some clarity and some hope that things are not lost, that there is a bigger plan to all of this. So I'm going to start with the reading. It's a Celtic Cross. I'm using the Connolly Tarot deck. The first card, the situation as it stands, was the Six of Swords. As you can see here, a young woman is crossing the bridge that is lined by six swords. Here, this is the quality or the ability of discernment to create that pathway towards a better future. The felt sense was that we are moving, each and every one of us, we are moving towards a bigger, brighter future. And this is indicated by the fact that on the side of the bridge that this woman is moving towards, you can see some lovely flowers, which reflects fertility, but the color of the flowers is also red, so it's the passion, creative, passionate living, and the leaves are all alive, they're all vibrant and green. So for me, that sort of indicates that each and every one of us in the situation that we are facing in the world today, the situation is pushing us, nudging us in the direction of greater love, greater passion, a greater sense of life. What is also coming to my awareness, or what came to my awareness as I meditated on this card, is that here we have a feminine subject holding the wand, holding the branch that is still alive. It still has two green leaves on it. This is akin to a mother carrying a child. So what is this branch that it speaks of? This branch is indicating our own unique spiritual gifts, our own unique spiritual identity, the life force that we carry within ourselves, that we are moving, or that we have taken on board our custodianship, that we are keepers of our life force, and that it falls upon our shoulders, upon our actions, upon our everyday moments to be the keeper and custodians and nurturer to this life force. The two cards that crossed the Six of Swords were two major arcana cards. They were the Wheel of Fortune and the Star. I'll start with the Wheel of Fortune. The felt sense here as I sat with the Wheel of Fortune was that things are changing. Now, this is not to imply things are changing for the better, so let's just stop doing the work, because as you can see, she is moving. She's not seated. She's not staying in she's not just sitting there and trusting that everything will fall into place. She is participating in her liberation. She is participating in her role as custodian custodian of the life force that she carries. So here it implies, or the felt sense was what was blocking this whole thing were the changes that were occurring around the world. The changes, obviously, as this is a card that is blocking the main card, the changes are acting as a limit or a hindrance to our capacity to be the nurturing, to uphold the feminine aspect of nurturing the life force within ourselves from a proactive point of view. So the changes are afoot. They are changes afoot. This was not indicating that things were going to get better anytime soon, neither was it implying that things were going to get worse, but what it was indicating was that things were consistently changing, that if we were not on the ball, we would find ourselves disengaging from our capacity as keepers of the flame, keepers of our flame. So that's the one card. It indicates changes are afoot. There was also a felt sense here that the changes were playing into what life is helping us grow into. And I'll explain why I say that in a moment. The second card that was blocking the Six of Swords was the Star. Now, with the Star, obviously, if it was in any other position, I would see that as a positive card where I'm in alignment with my own navigational system. That could be your own instinct, your own intuition, the wisdom of your body, whatever you want to call it. If that was on any other part of the spread, I would see that as indication that we were in alignment with that innate wisdom that flows through us. But the fact that it was blocking us, there were two things that came to mind as I saw this card in that position. The first was that we are required to do the work to reconnect to our innate system, to our innate wisdom, to our innate understanding of things, to understand that we have to flow in alignment with our own inner compass. What was also coming up was the felt sense that for many, perhaps this can indicate the way we see our society. For many, they have lost touch with their own inner system and have then begun to look to others for guidance. So it can be master teachers, it can be people that we look up to, with place on a pedestal. The guidance here is that whilst they can be used for guidance, they are not to be used as the be-all and end-all for our own inner navigational system. They are to perhaps supplement the strength of our own connection to our own pole star, our navigation, but not to become our navigation system. So that was the situation at this point with what was blocking it. Now, at the very basis, at the very foundation of this spread was the Magician. This is quite a positive piece of information here. The first thing is a reminder that each and every one of us are creators of our world, that we are to remember that we are creators of our world, that we hold the tools to create the magic in our world, and that magic is consistently and continuously flowing through us if we are willing to receive it, if we are willing to honor it, if we are willing to take charge of that aspect of ourselves, that we are creators of our world. Another thing that came up with regards to this card was the felt sense that be open to more. A message that came through as I read this card earlier was that new seeds of identity are sprouting. So be open to pieces of information or side comments that people make about you that you may not have identified with in the past, but this is indication that those aspects that are being gleaned by others, which we may not see in ourselves just yet, those aspects are coming to the fore, or those aspects are growing, those aspects are presenting themselves, that the time has come for these aspects to become strong, true, and to grow with vigor. It's not a standard piece of information with regard that you would associate with the magician, but I kept getting the idea that new seeds are afoot. New seeds have been planted and they have begun to sprout. Now this ties in nicely with the what we just saw, because this is the past, and we have that single ace of wands sprouting out, which ties in with the sprouting message that I received here, but also ties in quite beautifully with this card here that indicates the situation as it stands, that things in the past have brought to light our priorities, brought to light the priorities of our spirit, that the situation, as challenging as it may be for each and every one of us in its own unique way, is presenting us with the proper environment for these sproutings to occur. And it is upon ourselves that we make the decision to either take ownership of those aspects, those things that we call important to our spirit, or we leave them behind. I'm not sensing that we would leave them behind, because after all, the very essence of spirit is the core drive, the core connection that we hold to the sacred divine, and through which we may then gleam an understanding. As you can see, he's channeling through that wand, the magic that he can then bring into his world. So my felt sense is that each and every one of us, we are awakening to new gifts within ourselves, perhaps some of it unfamiliar, or even very unfamiliar, but they are coming. They are definitely coming. What is the main call? The main call here is that each and every one of us is at a crossroads. They are perhaps illusions and dreams and visions of what we can be, or what we can become. And what I'm actually getting as I say that is that be wary of not projecting your nightmares into the path forward. Allow yourself to be still as you navigate each choice in your world. And what is the best way forward? Either path will do, but I believe this bush with all the cups is the best way forward, in that it indicates to really move in alignment with the best way forward, to always remember to honor your emotions. Allow your emotions to be your barometer, your benchmark as to which of these two paths is the best way forward for you in any one moment. Right, so we then come to the future, the near future. Again, I believe that this indicates that the work will continue, that there is still work to be done. The first card is another major arcana. It's the moon. Here we have the four symbols: the pentacle, the chalice, the sword, and the one, all of which are in the water. They're somewhat distorted. So this brings us back to the seeds that we had initially, that I mentioned, that we each hold magic within us, that we each hold the power to create in our world. The fact that we have the moon here implies two things to me. That we have lost touch. We have lost touch with this skill set, that we have perhaps abused this skill set and have become too reliant on one particular face or expression of our skill set. So that ties in again beautifully with the fact that we are to make space for new aspects of self to come into being. This also feels like a kind of a dark night of the soul. So I feel that this is also indicating that it is important that we maintain a sense of steadiness, centeredness, and a moment by moment assessment of each moment in our life, that we do not go all projecting of the worst case scenario, but to allow ourselves to be centered and to then meet the calling of that moment appropriately. What I also see behind us, or behind this man who is contemplating the moon, meditating on the moon, is this young woman who sits behind him, waiting for him to notice her. What am I seeing in this? This is the quality of that sacred feminine that we brought to the surface at the start of the reading. It is this quality, this feminine aspect, akin to a mother carrying a child, the one being the child in her womb. The actions that she takes, the food, the physical consideration she makes, the emotional consideration she makes, the mental consideration she makes, all in alignment with keeping her baby safe and to ensure that the environment of her womb, the environment of her energies are in keeping with the sacred piece of service of bringing new life into the world. So here, the sacred feminine is going to present herself even more to us. It is through her ability to hold space in a creative, nurturing way that will help us to move forward, which is again in keeping with the nature of cups. It is not aggressive. It is not. It's not implying non-proactive, but it is contemplative and holding space. And here too, she holds the cup in her hand. She holds the emotions in her hand. Somehow the way forward is to use our emotional responses to each moment as a barometer and as a compass on how to navigate what is ahead of us. Again, when I say that, do not allow fears to then be projected into the future. Our nature as creative beings, masters of our reality, would warn us that we do not project and create the very things that we fear. So allow that contemplative nature to recognize the necessity to call on the nurturing nature of self to then move us through what can potentially be moving through darkness, perhaps a dark night of the soul, a sense of assessment of who are we, what can we do. And I think many of us are carrying those questions right now because of what is happening in the world. Can I step up further? Can I show up further? Can I do more? Should I have done more? This is not a looking back into the past. This is a gentle and yet consistent, courageous peering into what can be. And whilst that occurs, it is through that honest appraisal of being in the moment and considering what can be that the tools that we carry can then be made whole again. Because of the distortion, it is through sitting in the waters of the soul or sitting in the waters of emotion that those tools can once more become whole and complete and support us in creating the world that we have come to make, that each and every one of us have come to participate in creating upon the collective perception, upon the earth itself. The second card is a beautiful card. I think this is a beautiful assertion that just because I've addressed the feminine, that the feminine is not mamby-pamby, softy-softy, holdy spacey. She can also be very discerning in her capacity. She can cut the cords that no longer serve. And yet, the strength of her discernment is just as gentle so as to protect life, where we are able to cut what no longer serves and yet nurture the life force that we have been entrusted with. Okay, so this is where we are, who we are as individuals. 2 cards came up. There's a lot of major arcana cards coming up for us in the reading today. The first is the Hierophant. I like to see the Hierophant as a symbol of spiritual knowledge being made practical, of being able to contribute to enriching the practicalities of living. It is easy to be philosophical about the requirements of being spiritual, but it may not be completely practical in that instance. But with the Hierophant, it is taken down a step. It's taken down into become at a vibrational level that allows for the enrichment of life, where spiritual lessons, spiritual learning, spiritual understanding comes through and becomes an enrichment to those it is shared with. I also see this as a guidance that part of our role as teachers and way showers is going to become more prominent shortly. That this is a remembrance that with great responsibility, thank you X-Men, with great responsibility or with great powers come great responsibility. And so here, our capacity as teachers or guides to the challenges that others face will be called upon shortly. What are we trying to teach? What is the end result or the end aim of our teachings? Peace, peace, peace and life. Peace and life. And what is the other thing that I'm also being drawn to, which I don't usually see in the Hierophant, in a sense that I don't usually pick it up, but a recognition of the 2 keys. The 2 keys here remind us that we are each a key to the problem. We each hold a key to the problem. So it's time to move away from a sense of powerlessness, that you or we do not hold what we require to meet the moment. Allow the recognition that each and every one of us holds a key to the problem, to become the resolution to a problem. What I also see here is that this position as teacher is never going to be consistently one-sided, that we are also to see that the experiences of the people that come to us, whether directly or indirectly, consciously or unconsciously, through physical visitation or through energetic awareness, that they can also be our teachers, that they can also, through the engagement with them, we can be catalyzed into further growth, further spiritual growth and wisdom. The second card that is to identify us is the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Cups. Here we have the identity of strength. Here we have a person who's moving on a horse, let's call it the instinctive self, that is pure, that is not naive, but is uncorrupted. It is not galloping, it is cantering. So it's calm, it's centered, it is taking action, but not one where his movements are out of control and being dictated by the circumstances around him. Instead, he holds true to his sense of personal power, courage, knowing that his vehicle is strong and true, and he is consistently offering the cup of passion and innocence. I'm also getting with the white rose here, because rose is obviously to do with love. The white rose here is to indicate a sense of redemption, that through his action of passing on the love, offering wisdom in a space of love and innocence, within that space of non-judgment, the grace or the energy of redemption can occur for whatever is being presented to this night. Others at this time, two cards came. The first was the nine of Pentacles, which to me could indicate our felt sense that the world is complacent. It is perhaps cocoon in its safe little houses, and then there is no need to do anything because I'm safe. There is that felt sense of complacency, but sitting alongside that was the Five of Cups. Here we have the crying over spilt milk. So here is the sorrow that is felt worldwide, the anger, the splitting, where the breakup of families over the current narrative. Here we have the sorrow. The sorrow is sitting alongside the complacency. But what we are being guided to support in our work is to bring back a sense of unity, indicated by the Two of Cups, but also that all is not lost, that blessings can still be found if we are willing to change our perspective. All you need to do is look up, and he will see that the Two of Cups is on his mantelpiece. It is within his range. It is within his kingdom. All he needs to do is look up, a change of perspective, a change of attitude, and he can let go of what is lost and look towards building what he can with the Two of Cups. Right. The guidance, but also what we must do. It is what we are perhaps a little resistant to doing. There is fear here, but it's also the guidance on how to move forward. The guidance on how to move forward, a few things that come to mind: sovereignty, sovereignty of body, sovereignty of presence, sovereignty of identity, awareness of the abundance of life, recognizing that life is still abundant, that regardless of what is happening, that life is abundant. I'm also being drawn to the message right now that as Earth represents the physical aspect of nature, it is to remember that nature is inherently abundant, resourceful, and resilient. This is the nature of this king, the masculine proactive sovereignty, as opposed to a queen, which is receptive sovereignty. With the masculine, we are looking at proactive sovereignty, taking steps in the direction of honoring the sovereignty of your body, of your land, of your space, and recognizing what is required to attend to that. It could be a change of diet. It could be a change of your security systems. It could be a change of what you put into your space in your home. Are they artifacts, or are they articles, or books, or anything that would misalign your sense of sovereignty to your body's ability to heal, to your body's ability to deliver vibrancy, health, and abundance. So anything that would misalign, it could actually also indicate a decision to change from a health perspective what no longer aligns with your body's requirements. Okay, so that's what is called for, what is being guided, and yet it's also where we have the greatest fear of undertaking, owning that physical sovereignty, proactive physical sovereignty. And the final outcome, quite positive. The first card was the Five of Swords. Here we have the unification of all the different ideas that we carry. It can also imply the unification of different ideas within society with one that unifies and is sacred. So that's one of that. So it can be an outer unification, but more than likely this is indicating unification within of the mind, of the thinking process, allowing for divine guidance to unify all the disparate parts of our thinking process and allowing one idea to lead the rest. And the final card in this reading is the Ace of Cups, which to me, we've got two aces in this reading. The first was in the past. New seeds are beginning to grow. And the future or the final outcome was the Ace of Cups, where this, for me, the cups indicate soul. So this to me is a promise of greater soul presence within our being. But first we have to take ownership as custodians for that force of life that we carry, that has been given to each and every one of us, to use discernment to create the bridge towards a brighter future. And so that's my reading to you. I really have no idea why they insisted that this needed to be shared. I don't usually do this. Marcus has actually said that I should be doing this more often. But it literally felt like they were kicking me in the butt to actually share this with you. So I hope that finds the right people. This message finds the right people that need to hear this. And I wish you all a beautiful day. Namaste.